Hello there. An official briefing paper for the Irish government says that on top of the pandemic, a second shock from a hard Brexit might overwhelm the Republic's economy. Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost. And I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily. The Irish Times says that a government briefing document has warned the Irish Foreign Affairs Minister Simon Coveney that households and businesses may not have the capacity to withstand a second economic shock as a result of a hard Brexit at the end of the year. And the document itself says that the Republic of Ireland is facing into Brexit from a fundamentally different economic starting point than for a no-deal Brexit in 2019. And that taking the coronavirus pandemic into account, the capacity of households and businesses to manage a second economic shock will be more limited. Coveney has also been warned that protecting the €85 billion trade link with the UK is vital to Ireland's economic recovery. But the paper points out the obvious of what we all know, that coming to any agreement would require the UK to sign up to the outline contained in the non-binding political declaration, something that the UK government is now not going to do. Because to do so would mean the UK going from full EU member status to inferior EU member status. Or another way to get a deal would be for the EU itself to cross its own single market red lines, something Brussels would never do. So the report says that the gap between the two sides is still as wide as ever, and it says, the political declaration sets out the parameters for an ambitious, broad, deep and flexible partnership. However, in negotiations, the UK has adopted a significantly less ambitious approach. And it goes on to say that Irish politicians need to drive forward with a new relationship with the UK, saying, driving a renewal of the relationship is a priority task, given its importance in terms of our joint stewardship of the Good Friday Agreement, our people-to-people relations, and the Ireland-Great Britain economic and trading relationship worth €85 billion per annum, the protection of which will be vital to our overall economic recovery. And they also want to set up a new consulate in the north of England, it seems. But the report also says that Ireland needs to be working hard on its US and Canadian connections as well. But with foreign relations being more and more controlled from Brussels, one has to wonder how much leeway the Irish government has really got to build such relationships. And on trade, Brussels has total control of the single market, so control of what comes into it and what tariffs apply. And on relations between the US and the Republic, Donald Trump has just taken Merkel to task over Germany's energy links with Russia, as well as its refusal to stump up the NATO standard 2% spend on defence, and so has ordered some 12,000 US troops out of Germany. And despite opposition to the move, CNN reports that Trump defended the decision Wednesday, saying the troop drawdown was taking place because Berlin was not spending the NATO target of 2% of its GDP on defence, and because Germany was taking advantage of the US. And Trump himself said, we spend a lot of money on Germany, they take advantage of us on trade, and they take advantage on the military, so we're reducing the force. They're there to protect Europe. They're there to protect Germany, and Germany is supposed to pay for it. We don't want to be responsible anymore. Now, if Germany is worried about Putin's Russia, then Germany will be forced to up its defence spending. And the EU as a whole will be forced to beef up its own military. More expense for the neutrally minded Ireland. And that might send the wrong message to the Kremlin. And another niggle for Donald Trump, is that Germany buys a lot of gas from Russia. So why should the US supply the money and troops to defend a country that trades so freely with and supports the supposed potential aggressor Russia? And Ireland, of course, is part of the German-led EU. Then on top of that, there's Trump's very recent presidential executive order to rein in the social media giants like Facebook, Twitter and Google. The executive order, signed on the 28th of this month and called Executive Order on Preventing Online Censorship, looks to apply the ideals of the US First Amendment to social media platforms, with the order saying, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube wield immense, if not unprecedented, power to shape the interpretation of public events, to censor, delete or disappear information and to control what people see or do not see. As President, I have made clear my commitment to free and open debate on the internet. Such debate is just as important online as it is in our universities, our town halls and our homes. It is essential to sustaining our democracy. But it also aims to prevent those US companies from operating abroad in a manner that goes against US interests and wider human rights, saying, at the same time, online platforms are invoking inconsistent, irrational and groundless justifications to censor or otherwise restrict American speech here at home. Several online platforms are profiting from and promoting the aggression and disinformation spread by foreign governments like China. One United States company, for example, created a search engine for the Chinese Communist Party that would have blacklisted searches for human rights, hid data unfavourable to the Chinese Communist Party, and tracked users determined appropriate for surveillance. It also established research partnerships in China that provide direct benefits to the Chinese military. Other companies have accepted advertisements paid for by the Chinese government that spread false information about China's mass imprisonment of religious minorities, thereby enabling these abuses of human rights. They have also amplified China's propaganda abroad, including by allowing Chinese government officials to use their platforms to spread misinformation regarding the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic and to undermine pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. Sounds to me like Trump wants US firms to operate across the world in the way he wants to see them operate domestically in the United States. Now, what if Google, whose European operations, including YouTube, are based in Ireland for tax purposes, found that there was a distinct difference between what the US wants and what the EU wants? What if the freedom of speech on social media in the EU was curtailed more than that of the US? Anyway, you get the idea. Ireland could find itself between the proverbial rock and a hard place. Or Google could be taxed out of Ireland when the EU decides to harmonise business tax rates. And going back to the point that the Irish establishment now recognises the importance of the current €85 billion in trade it does with the UK every year, you do have to wonder how they will protect it if the EU keeps banging on about controlling UK fishing grounds and forcing the UK onto a so-called level playing field of rules and state aid, all constructed by Brussels for its own ends, not the UK's. And you have to remember that the EU budget currently only has a €5 billion fund to help nations that have been adversely affected by Brexit. And how much of that would really go to the Republic? Maybe Ireland would be better off as an independent nation with a trade agreement with the UK as a good starting point. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about all of this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.